Hello and welcome to a Celtic State of Mind. We are live for the halftime analysis of Ross County versus Celtic. It's halftime, it's 0-0. It's been a bit of a slog to watch, I have to say. I'm joined for the halftime coverage by Liam from Celts Down Under. How you doing, Liam?
Well, I'd be a bit better if we were a couple of goals up, I have to admit. But yeah, otherwise okay. It's almost midnight here, and I hope Celtic don't make me regret having to stay up for this game.
Well, I don't envy you that, I have to say. It's been hard enough to stay awake watching it while we're right in the middle of the day here. It's been a strange one. I mean, the maybe being a bit harsh. The opening 15-20 minutes or so was a lot of possession for us, but not much created. What did you make of the opening part of the game?
I think you have to give Ross County a bit of credit in the sense that they've clearly come out with a strategy to stop us at all costs, and they've played to that, and thus far it's worked for them. So I think we're showing the signs that we can break them down, though. But that first, I mean, apart from the Turnbull chance and the Jota chance, which was very unlucky to deflect where it did, I think we were unlucky not to get at least one ahead. But you've got to say County have defended really well as well. Credit where it's due.
Yeah, I think looking at the opposition briefly, I mean, I don't know what you make of the pre-match instructions, but I think the phrase "stick the boot in" might have been used a little bit. I think they've been slightly aggressive. What have you made of the referee's reaction to that and the performance of the referee in this situation? I know it's not something we want to dig into too much. At the end of the day, we need to score our own goals and things like that, but I don't know. They've been a bit heavy-handed for my liking, I would say.
Well, yeah, but I'm a great believer, and I think it was Jock Stein himself that said, when you play for Celtic, you play against 12 men, the 11 on the park and the referee. So I don't expect to get anything from officials. But yeah, you're right. He's let some heavy tackles go, and nothing I think overtly nasty. I think it's more down to a difference in skill level than as I like to think, never put down to maliciousness what you can put down to incompetence. And I think it's just a question of players who are not up to our level in terms of ability are thinking, well, how can I level the playing field? I'll put the boot in, and if they can get away with it, they're going to keep doing it. So,
yeah, I think a big difference of the game so far for me, leaving aside the aggression of the opposition, but the big thing for me was I felt last week, even though we were frustrated at points, I felt we were creating good chances. I don't know that the chances have been quite as high quality this week, even leaving aside the ones that you mentioned. What do you think we need to do in the second half to kind of try and get the upward foot on this one? I think we were tailing off towards the end of the first half, but surely we can get back onto the form we were in the first 20 minutes or so.
I think the obvious answer, there's two things I would do if I was Ange. One is I would hook Kyogo and bring on Giakoumakis. No denying Kyogo's ability, but this is not his type of game. You need a big bruiser who's going to power through the front line and, maybe get on the end of a cross or something like that. And it's not Kyogo's game today. I also think that we need to try and feed the ball wide a bit more. Last week, particularly, I remember noting that Taylor and Maeda were linking up really well down the flank. They had a really good overlap going there, and of course Jota. Well, that goal he scored last week's like already a goal of the season contender. So we need a bit more wing play. Need to get the wide players more involved. I think it's going all through the middle right now, and that suits County. So we need to switch it up. Our big advantage is pace and skill, and we need to use those advantages more in the second half. And it'll become easier as well as they tire, as the second half goes on, I think.
Yeah, Egyptian King comes in with a comment here, says, in agreement with your thoughts on GG for Kyogo, which I would agree with as well. I think probably we need that target man up the top a bit more than what Kyogo offers us. But he's also suggesting Abada on for Maeda. Given what you said about the relationship between Taylor and Maeda, I should say, do you think that's a switch you would like to see in the second half, Abada replacing him, or would you give Maeda a bit of a shot in the second half to start with?
I'd give Maeda a bit more, but then again, I'm a wee bit biased because I picked him out 3 years ago as a player Celtic should sign. So, he used to play for my local team over here in Nagano, I would say well, basically do what we did last week. Give Maeda until about the 60-65 minute mark, and if it's still not happening for him, then you've got the double bonus of, Abada brings pace, but also pace running at tired legs. Because even if Maeda's not having a good game, he's not going to give them a minute's peace. So, yeah, it's tailor-made for a guy like Abada to come on and just run at them even more.
Yeah, that's something I'd certainly like to see. I mean, personally, although Maeda has been such an effective signing for us, I think there are certain games where it's either for him or it's not, and I think on today's occasion it seems like he's struggling a little bit to break things down. The other thing I was thinking about as a possible change to the second half, because I know we did it against Aberdeen, but I've seen Jota on both sides in this game and in the Aberdeen game, but I tend to prefer him going down the left hand side and cutting in onto his right, whereas he seems to have been a little bit more based down the right hand side and cutting in onto his left. Do you see that being a bit more of a permanent change that Ange could make in the second half to maybe have an effect?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something to consider. We need to. We're a wee bit ponderous and a wee bit predictable at the moment, and something like that would just switch up the dynamic nicely. And yeah, I would certainly think that's something Ange will be thinking about right now.
Yeah, I think that's like a couple of the changes I would suggest to make. Trying to focus on a bit more of the positives from the game so far. What's been a good thing for you that you think somebody who gets pass marks perhaps, or somebody who's put in a good performance so far?
Well, maybe the guy who's keeping the score at Ibrox. No, I'm only kidding. I think I think defensively we've not been threatened at all. Carter Vickers has absolutely strolled it as he always does. It's good to see Callum McGregor getting forward a bit more and trying. He had a week and a half chance quite early on, and he's been involved in quite a lot of the build-up play. I'd be quite happy if he nabbed the winning goal. I've got him at 14-1, but it's good to see him coming up and joining the attack a bit more, because the creative side of his play is something you don't see that often because he is deployed in that more holding role. So it's good to see him getting a bit more involved. Juranovic has been really good as well, I think. Again, linking up with the attack. I mentioned Maeda and Taylor, but I think you also have to mention Juranovic and Jota are forming a similar dynamic. And I know I don't know if it's going to happen today, but one of these days Juranovic is going to get the ball and smash in a 25-yarder. It's just he's been threatening it for months now, and it's going to happen one day.
Carter Vickers might at this stage as well. Just coming in, we've got Lawrence and Paul John arriving. It's better late than never, lads. Better late than never.
Can you hear us okay?
A bit like the Ross County Challenges, late.
Aye. I was just thinking that.
They're just late, Lawrence. They're just late. I'm just going to bring this up, and I'll bring everybody into the conversation as far as that's concerned. John Coletta says Jens looks composed and full of class. What are we thinking of his debut so far? Paul, I'll come to you.
It's been pretty flawless. He does look composed, very, very comfortable on the ball. I think there was only one occasion where he tried a crossfield pass and it didn't quite make it. But he looks as though he's fitted in almost flawlessly, Laura, which is... and you know how much I love Stephen Welsh, but he does look like a class act based on one half of football. I've got to point that out. But yeah, very impressed so far.
And with that, I will hand the reins back over to you.
Oh, thank you. Apologies for the technical issues. Welcome Liam back on. We do collaborate with Celtic Down Under, our friends in Australia. Although Liam, you're not in Australia, I believe.
No, I'm actually in Nagano in northwestern Japan.
We're international and continental on Axon. The big frustration for Lawrence and I, and I don't make any apologies for bringing it up, it's just, the lack of protection for our players in that first half, Lawrence.
Listen, I thought it was a punch that was swung at Jota. No card from the ref. The offside that was given against Kyogo, it looks like he gets elbowed. yeah, it's still an offside, but you've got to take action on the elbow. It's not that a free for all because you're given offside. The high tackle early on at the edge of the box, he gives a free kick but no yellow. The number 4 had previously been yellow carded for pulling McGregor back. Pulls McGregor back again, arms around the waist. McGregor, the ref just signals play on. McGregor gets the ball away. You're going, ref, are you giving us advantage? Because if you stop this game, it's another yellow. The refs in the tackle and Taylor, you're like, what did we expect from Don Robertson? Probably pretty much this, to be honest. But someone's going to get injured with the tackles and the challenges he's letting go. But go back to Jens. I actually thought he lost the boy at the corner and let him get a run. He did make up the yards and kind of got in front of him, but the boy still got his head on it and didn't get on target. But outside of that, I thought he'd done okay, Jens. But I was disappointed he was a wee bit slack at the corner and lost the boy.
Yeah, I mean,
Jota looks in the mood, doesn't he?
He does.
He's had some cracking balls in.
I'm just going to say, Lawrence, that we bring in another centre half, but regardless of the calibre, Carter Vickers still stands out for me. And there was a moment there in that first half, and we've seen it last season at home where we were struggling to break this side down, and Carter Vickers goes on a wee jolly and strikes one from about 20 yards. He done something similar today. How impressed have you been, Liam, in the first couple of games with Carter Vickers? He's a rock in the central area of that defence, isn't he?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's fast becoming probably my favourite non-Japanese Celtic player. So he really is. He's impressive. He really, as I was saying to Laura before you guys came on, even in a half like that where there's not a lot happening, he strolled it. He barely broke a sweat. And that's just the class of the guy, that he almost seems to instinctively know where the ball is before he even has to move for it,
See in a game like this, and again, we were actually faced with this time and time again last season, where you're sitting at half time, you're thinking, how do we break this side down? And we generally found a way. I'm going to throw this one to you, Laura. How do we do this? How do we break this side down? Is Ange seen enough in that first half that we determined that we continue to go and it'll happen? Because there were a few chances created, or are changes required? Do you bring on Giakoumakis to noise them up a bit?
I think changes are required. I think to pick up on a point Liam made, I think we do need to keep troubling them down the wide areas, but the personnel that were required to do that, I think need to change. I would certainly be looking at bringing Abada on sooner rather than later, because I think he might be able to offer us some joy down the wide flanks. But this is exactly the type of situation I was talking about missing Hatate for, because I think he would have taken chances with his passes and maybe made a killer pass or two that could have broken through the defence. So I'm expecting Turnbull to step up in the second half and try and make that difference for us from the midfield, because he's been unable to do so. He's been a bit of a passenger so far in the first half.
Abada is a player that Michael Caton-Jones thinks should come on for a bit of action as well. And there's a few of the commenters who are watching streams with no commentary. They're asking us to stay on for the commentary. We did do that 2 seasons ago, but even when we were watching Celtic TV, it was slower than some other people's streams. So we were getting text messages saying Ferencvaros have just scored, and we didn't even know, watching it apparently live on Celtic TV. So unfortunately we won't be doing the commentary, but we will be back at full time with Liam, with Laura and Lawrence. Hopefully no technical issues at this end, and hopefully to talk about a Celtic victory. Thanks everybody for getting involved and joining the discussion on a Celtic state of mind.